Treasurer, may we have a roll call? Here. Dr. Bailey is en route.
Here.
He will be arriving late as well.
Present. Present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. All right, our mission is to inspire, educate, and empower. Our vision is to inspire, educate, and empower scholars for a lasting impact. And our purpose is to cultivate a supportive and engaging educational experience. Do we have any bargaining units here today to speak? I do not see any. So I will move on. Madam Treasurer, do we have anyone from the public registered to speak?
Yes.
All right, give me 1 second. Mr. Walker, can you serve as the timekeeper, please? Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. It is inappropriate to address any matter pending disputes, grievances under a labor agreement, disciplinary actions involving an employee or student, ongoing labor negotiations, concerns or matters that have been already settled, or any matter which, because of its nature, is deemed appropriate to be discussed in executive session. Go ahead.
Tanisha Horton. Tanisha Horton.
Do we have any other speakers?
No.
All right, thank you. So next, I do want to share with you guys something I'm very excited about that came to fruition through one of our community partnerships, which is our district-wide Family First Feast, which is the first fest, which is the first time during my board tenure that our entire district has the opportunity to get together and really celebrate and kick off our school year with a back-to-school event. I will ask the other board members and the superintendent, there will be a dunking booth at the event, which I have volunteered to go on, and a couple of other elected officials have volunteered to sit in. If you guys want to join, because there are many people who would gladly love to throw balls and dunk us in a dunk tank, that it would be just a great way to allow not only our team, but community members to engage with us. Go ahead, Ms. Reiner. Oh, hold on 1 second. Let the record reflect that Mr. Smith has joined the meeting at 4:34. Go ahead, Ms. Reiner.
I am grateful that you are announcing this event, President Goodwine, and I would just like to say I wish I could be there because that sounds like a lot of fun.
Very excited. I think one of the things that you guys will see, I want to make note to it, it's somewhere on here that one of the things we're bringing our schools out, and I made the assumption that they had tents, and they did not. So after working with our treasurer, there is a PO on here tonight for the board to actually purchase those to give them some branding that we hope not only that they use at this event, that they go out into the community to other local events, because we see a lot of their competitors there, and it'd be great to see them there. Any comments on the event, anyone, before we move on?
Oh,
Go ahead.
I will say I did tell Dr. Goodwine that I will get in this dunk tank.
I got the first on you.
Listen, there's a $5 minimum. Telling you now.
You want to say something, Ms. Witt? Yes, we're excited. We have
wanna
it.
say something.
Okay, 1 second, Dr. Lawrence. We don't know yet. I think we'll decide this week where the funds raised from the dunk tank will go, but it will be to one of our district programs. So please come and dunk us, because I'm going to talk a lot of trash. Go ahead, Dr. Lawrence.
I just want to say thanks for coming up with the idea. You're right, it is the first. I've been around for about 30 years. I don't remember this. It's also on the same day as another district who, I don't know if they're copying off us, but ours is certainly going to be a lot better than theirs. And you mentioned the dunk tank. How deep is it?
No idea. Miss Kidd and Miss Guerin, it's up to their discretion. So hopefully we've been good enough that I can at least stand up in it. I'm more concerned about.
I will, I don't want to get my hair messed up, so I'll think about it.
All right, anything else from anyone? All right, Dr. Lawrence, your first recommendation.
Thank you, Dr. Goodwine. I recommend the approval of the following: B, C, D, E, F, and G for a vote.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Walker, second by Ms. Reiner. Any questions on the motion?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
So, few questions, Dr. Lawrence. Looking at the life coaches, I thought it was budgeted for 15, but this says 11.
There's three that are on here that are new, so that will be 11 plus 3 is 14, so that means we're short one. I've been watching email transactions, email communication back and forth, and they're working on filling that last one.
Okay, this one said 9, 10, and 11, and then it says budgeted 11. So I just didn't.
I'll double check that for you. I think
Okay.
the three are 11 plus 3,
Okay,
because all the communication I've had before then with actually Board Member Smith, yourself, and then Mr. Worley has been like 3 or 4, and then he got these 3.
okay, and
Yep.
then
And welcome back, Deion Witherspoon. It's gonna be hot.
yeah.
That's my guy.
And then Dr. Davis, this is kind of a two-part. The first one is, so it says teachers. So it says teachers 617 field budgeted 631. I'm just trying to understand, is the teacher, is there a difference from that line item compared to the long-term sub item, or is this certified teachers is what's being filled, or is this long-term subs being filled?
Apologies if you're asking about the budget information. That would be a question for the treasurer.
Well, so my question more so is, it's saying that with the teachers that are on here, that takes us to 617. So my question more so is this all certified teachers that is now 617, or does this include what's projected later or something like that?
I have no idea.
I think I saw that list. There's only one long-term sub, and the rest of them are certified teachers. I think how many of the resignations were? We have more, I believe, hires than that.
Okay. And then the second part of the question is.
I'm sorry. I should add that Dr. Davis and I are getting ready to come up with a date. It's going to be really soon, where once we have said, okay, we think we've hired most of the certified teachers that are still out there, because many of them that we're calling now, they obviously already have jobs, and so I think that'll slow down. And now we're going to give principals the opportunity to say, hey, who are your best long-term subs that you can now come back and fill positions with?
Okay, I appreciate it. And then the last question is, we're correcting the band director stipend part. Question was raised as far as for the band camp adjunct. Is the adjunct piece going to be added for band camps, or is that going to be added later on once we board all of adjunct?
I have no idea. I apologize.
Okay, I'll get with you afterwards.
Okay.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah.
It's the not to exceed 50-hour part for band.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's missing.
Okay.
She's still working on that right now.
Okay.
All of those supplementals are going to be concentrated. If the board passes the superintendent's recommendation next week for personnel, they'll be concentrated with a person at Stivers. That's part of their duties, is to manage all of the arts and music supplementals in the entire district.
Okay.
I think the next question is like, why are they based at Stivers? Well, they're also part of the support for Dr. Waller, and also the vast majority of the adjuncts are at Stivers, although we are expanding at each school. I'm excited to tell you that, because that's one of your first questions when you got on. It was like, hey, why don't we
Make
have
it
Stivers?
equitable.
Yes, equitable. So we are expanding the adjuncts at other schools.
Perfect.
But again, all that work and will be there at Stivers.
Okay, and then the last question is for Dr. Jones. For safety and security, last year we increased that department to 50. I've yet to see that department hit 50 as far as SROs. What is the track so far going into this new school year? Because right now it's saying 41 out of the 53 that's budgeted.
Right, we had a few resignations, but I will check to see what type of plan that Chief Wright has in place to recruit SROs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Mr. Smith?
On
let's see, F2 is then also listed as F27. Could you explain that for me, Dr. Lawrence? So I know that I previously talked to you about a couple of those situations that I saw. Will this then have that person be unboarded from the old position and then put into the Ready, Set, Grow program?
So it's two things. It's two things. You're right. Unboarded in this one, but Ready, Set, Grow, that position is a separate one for this summer because the Ready, Set, Grow, it's preschool and kindergarten. Those teachers work together to
Right.
kind of determine what the lesson scope and sequence is going to be for next year and how they can fill gaps. So those are two separate teams. But yes, the other person is going into another position.
Okay, and then for the people who have been over at Ready, Set, Grow that we're doing the supplemental extra duty for, are they going to get paid for the work that they've already been doing over there?
Yes.
'Cause what I had heard is that they had not gotten paid so far from the last pay period from what they had been doing for the last, has it been 2 weeks now?
Yeah, we've not, that is going to end up being like you do the work and then we pay you because we still pulling different information from not only supplementals that were turned in, but some that were not. Because that program that Ms. Sheehy put together, it was one of the later ones and we got applications later for that one.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I know they'll appreciate, you
But
really
it's on our radar.
paying attention to that, so thank you.
Mhm.
I have one more, and I lost it. I'll kick it back to you, Madam President.
Thank you. Dr. Lawrence, this is more for you. So on the supplementals, following up on Mr. Walker's question on these band directors, the description is saying summer rehearsal / band camp. The dates are changing what appears to be the entire school year, but band camp is not the entire school year, whereas what we already approved, we're doing the period of band camp, which is the end of July, beginning of August. So which is, this doesn't appear to be ready for us to vote on because it's not changing anything. Because again, what it's saying, the activity for it doesn't match the dates.
Thank you for that, Dr. Goodwine. I will have to follow up because I am with you. It's my understanding that we were doing all band camps and that was separate stipend, and that as band directors, they have a stipend for the year, but that's separate from the summer. In fact, I remember mentioning at the last meeting that I was going to be going around to, even though I don't play an instrument, I was going to be going around to band camp rehearsals to check in. So your recollection is correct. I'll circle back.
Okay, Mr. Walker, can I put an amendment to your motion?
Absolutely.
Can we pull F1, F5, no, F6, F7, F8 to not be included on this vote?
F1,
Yes, F1. F6, F7, and F8. But then I will ask after this one if you can pull your motion, so I can put a motion to table until they actually get them corrected, because they're not correct. After the first vote.
We already voted on the salary, didn't we?
We do. The question for us more so is, this is a little different, like you're saying the full year, and
Right.
band camp is only for 2 weeks.
Correct.
So we gave a $9,000 period, which may have been incorrect, or I don't know. But what Mr. Walker was stating, because according to that piece, it's not to exceed 50 hours.
Mhm.
So it feels like this needs to go back and get corrected, so we don't have to do another correction at our
I got
next
you.
meeting for this piece.
Okay. Duly noted.
Mr. Smith, you find your question?
I'm good. I looked into it. I'm good.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes?
Dr. Bailey, is not here. Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Witt.
Yes.
6 yeses.
Thank you. Your next recommendation?
I recommend.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Oh.
We got the second one to do. I'll ask, can you pull your motion?
Yep, I'll pull my motion.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to table the pulled items to come back to us at our next meeting with the corrected information. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Dr. Goodwine, second by Mr. Lacy. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick.
Yes.
6 yeses.
Thank you. Your next recommendation.
I recommend approval of the following DEA after July 10th for a vote.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lacy, second by Ms. Witt. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
No.
Oh, yeah, let me change mine. I went too fast. Can I change my vote to a no?
no?
Yeah, change me to a no.
Okay.
My bad, I was distracted. Let the record reflect that Dr. Bailey joined the meeting at 4:47.
Dr. Bailey,
July 10th recommendations. Come back to Dr. Bailey, he's not logged in yet.
Mr. Smith,
No.
Ms. Reinhardt,
No.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
DEA after July 10th.
No.
Ms. Wick.
No.
Back to Dr. Bailey.
Dr. Bailey,
That's a no.
6 no, 1 yes.
Thank you. Your first recommendation for review?
My recommendation for review is for contracts. You have about 10 of them there, and we will definitely take questions. I'd like to talk about just a few of them. You'll see the neighborhood school centers, NSCs, they're all back except for one. And so Kaiser, Edwin Joel, Fairview, Thurgood Marshall, and East End. So they're all coming back except for one. Roosevelt is an addition, and I think we're missing one. If I'm not mistaken, we're missing one. Ms. Burley, which one are we missing from the neighborhood school centers? One's not coming back from last year.
Madam President.
1 second, Ms. Bartlett, about to speak with them, we'll come in.
Yes, hello. Oh, that's kind of loud. That would be our neighborhood school center for Louise Troy, which was Grace Methodist.
Thank you. Mr. Lacy, the floor is yours.
I'm not sure what Title I neglected means.
So that's the second part. The first part is for our juvenile services with the county, and this part is for some of our students who are most at risk, who have been identified as neglected, so we have special funds for them. It's two.
So it's like a sub-fund under 572.
Yes,
Title
and
I.
it's connected, it's always connected to two. Juveniles first, then neglected, they're annual, and they're both sub-funds.
Okay.
All right.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, not a question, I was just gonna talk about.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, about MAP. That's the instrument, Hardcore, Houghton Mifflin. That's the tool that we use to check our growth measures and determine how our OST outcomes are going to end up in the summertime. So it's a renewal. We had it when I came, went away from it, and now we're back. All these tools, MAP and STAR, are very similar. It's just a matter of which one that you choose to use. And then Elevate K-12, that's the largest contract on there. That's where I was in Henderson, Nevada, presenting our Elevate K-12 data. We'll make sure that you get it. And so the nationwide, there's been a difficulty in getting Algebra 1, Algebra 2, pre-calculus, calculus, chemistry, biology, the science teachers. And so we just decided, since we have not, amongst other districts around the nation, had luck with having those teachers come here, we now have them remotely, and then we have a person that's in, usually a para, who helps manage the class while they're remote teaching in those difficult subjects in terms of content level. And I would love to attach the data of how last year went.
All right. Is that it for you, Dr. Lawrence?
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
All right, the floor is open to questions. Any questions? Mr. Walker?
Ms. Burlock, so I remember last year in our, what did I have last year? After-school activities, I believe. It was stated that the 21st Century Grant was going away for Westwood and I believe Louise Troy. So with this neighborhood school center, family resource coordinator, I'm just curious of what avenues now will be provided to those students at Louise Troy. And like, don't quote me, but I believe Miss LaShawn had said something about Westwood as well.
For 21st century?
21st century, but even with Louise Troy losing, like, and it may be because of state funding with regards to this program and things like that.
Yeah, we don't know about 21st century for next school year.
Okay.
So we are spending, what we have available right now. 21st century, when we look at that, that's normally, year one across years, year two or year three. So each school center that has the after-school program for 21st century is in a different phase of that programming. And I believe that Louise Troy may have one more year in the 21st century piece.
Okay.
Real quick, Dr. Jones, it's some students that appear to be trying to get in the building for volleyball. If somebody could help them, they've appeared to walk to the back at this point now.
Thank you, Ms. Spurlock. I just want to follow up Mr. Walker and say that we do have situations we move into the year. The president and his current administration are withholding about $7 billion in title funds for schools all across the nation. And that's definitely a conversation that we're going to have with the board. I do believe at some point those funds will be released because there's already been a court order to say that it is not legal to withhold funds in which Congress has already appropriated in the previous year. So I do think that those funds, will get those funds. I just think it'll be later. And in order to begin the year and not be in chaos, which I think is a goal, we may need some support from the board in terms of how we fund some of our after-school programs until that funding is released.
Okay. I appreciate it.
All right.
Ms. Witt?
Thank you. On the Louise Troy piece and the neighborhood community center piece, are we actively seeking out other partnerships with organizations to fill that gap? I know that that is a vulnerable building, and all of our families, every child deserves some after-school fun and neighborhood centers, so thank you.
Absolutely. We have schools that have multiple community partners that are not a neighborhood school. So we always seek out community partners for our schools that might not be tied under neighborhood school, but we always have, every school at least has one community partner at the elementary level, or multiples. We have an amazing community in Dayton that steps up to their local schools.
Are there any other questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Okay. So, Dr. Lawrence, if you could kind of give me some information on how are you seeing the progress go with these neighborhood school centers? I know this has been something that's been in the district for years, not always in the same way that it's done. So, for the public, what are our expectations, and what are we expecting the funds here to cover for our neighborhood school partners?
Board Member Smith, thank you so much for the question. It's an excellent question. So when we first came to the district as a team, now this is our third year, but 2 years ago, we asked the neighborhood school centers if they could utilize our curriculum, utilize learning circles so that we could manage and find out what students were participating in activities and how the academic outcomes were increasing or not. So we had several meetings. It took us that first year to all get on the same page, but now, this last second year, we're all there in terms of learning circles, what student cohorts are there, how accountability and assessment researches those, and then the conversations that Ms. Sheehy, our Chief Academic Officer, and Ms. Minor, our Assistant Superintendent, and Ms. Spurlock, our Chief of Schools, have with those schools is centered around data and student cohorts. And those schools also have the academic action plan. So we're speaking the same language. We think we're going to go much faster this year now that we got on the same page. So thank you for that question.
All right, if I can follow up with you, Dr. Lawrence, knowing the history of it, would you say that, because I think you were here when we started this, correct?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so at that time, there was partnership through the Dayton Foundation, the city, the county, and I want to say around 16 foundations and corporate sponsors as well. So if we're not in that space, are these spaces true neighborhood school centers as they were founded, or are they just a partner doing after-school activities? Because what I want us to be clear with is the issue that I have around some of the other programs, when I talk about longevity of programs. Technically, if someone on the basis looks, they say, DPS has been doing neighborhood school centers since we went back to K through 8. But technically, we're not, because we do not have those same partners putting in the same skin in as it was when we created this. So if we do not do that, how do we want to move forward? Is it something that, do we change the name? Do we continue? Because what I don't want is for people to be thinking that neighborhood school centers are this long-standing program that, when it was created, was connecting students to the community. Now it's trying to find them after-school activities to do, which is not the same thing, and we do not have the same partners who left before you got here, if we're just being honest. They left before you got here on that piece. So what is your view on how we move with this, being that what we technically have are not the neighborhood school centers that was created with the intentionality of trying to connect these kids to their neighborhoods?
Thank you for the question, because you're touching on some internal conversations we're having. When the neighborhood school center started, we did not pay. We now pay close to $300,000 to support the neighborhood schools. We didn't pay a dime. Those partners actually supported the neighborhood school centers, they supported the staff, and they supported the work that was done typically, mainly during the day. It has evolved, and now we have become the sole funder. The sole funder, not primary, the sole funder. So we've gone from not funding at all to becoming the sole funder at close to $300,000. And when we first came, we kind of stepped back from this a moment, and then we kind of stepped back and said, okay, it's a neighborhood partner framework. We agree with you. It has changed a lot, and we decided that you can't just kind of burn everything up when you get here, so let's take another look at it. And our another look at it was, okay, since it clearly is not what it was, can we at least align it to what we're doing during the school day? So to your point, this year is another year of evaluating. I heard the assistant superintendent and the chief of elementary schools talking about the cost and what are the outcomes that we get for $300,000, almost $300,000.
Yeah, that's my concern, is that technically we're paying for a position, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's the expectations and the goals and the curriculum and the alignment that we're wanting, but essentially we're just paying for a position because we do not have those same partners in there.
Yeah, when you read the charter, and there's a meeting every 3 months, it's at the Dayton Foundation, and there's about 30 of us that are there, and us, meaning the partners, and minus DPS people, there's usually 2 or 3 of us. There's a conversation around what it means to be a partner, and that conversation has changed from when I first came, when you look at the original document, to what it is now. Yes, we're funding a position, and we're asking ourselves, hey, how does this benefit the totality of the organization? And what does it mean to be a partner?
Right.
Like, that's a question we're
Because
asking.
that's my question, and I'm not just in this neighborhood school center conversation, but just
In general, yeah.
in general. Well, you say you go to this meeting and there's 30 people there and they're talking about being partners, but if we look on our agenda, then they're not truly partnering in this like there was. So I think I'm just wanting us to really evaluate how can we be helpful, because I do know the staff that, especially at some of our spaces, are very, very instrumental in some of the things that go on. We have Omega does a lot of wonderful work over here. We have some wonderful work going on, but in the spirit of partners, I do appreciate that conversation that you're having, that your team is having on what does it really look like to be a partner. Is it a partner in name only? Is it a partner in the goals that we're trying to do? How do we move this in light of some of the other things and the issues and the funding deficits and the uncertainty and fear that people have about certain things? So that was my question. I appreciate you for giving me that, and I'll definitely circle back, and I'd love to be looped in on some of those conversations around partners as we move forward. Appreciate it.
No problem at all.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Your next recommendation for review?
My next recommendation for review is a contract. It should just be one.
All right,
And just some background on that. You asked a really good question in the review session. You said, hey, Dr. Lawrence, these are support services for our phlebotomy courses and teachers. And we said 90% of the kids passed phlebotomy. And you said, well, how many kids is that? So I will get that. I will send that data to you when we send the Elevate K-12. But this is for the continuation of high-quality support for our career tech pathways at Dunbar and Belmont and phlebotomy.
Madam President,
go ahead,
can
Mr.
I
Walker.
take Superintendents B and C together?
Not voting again.
Yeah, I'll vote.
Just review. But excited to see that you're ready to go.
They can review them at the same time.
Okay, I take it you have no questions on them since you was ready to vote. All right, are there any other questions on superintendent's recommendation? All right, your next recommendation?
My next recommendation for review is a MOU with DEA. If you get through the whereases, what that means is that when we negotiated the agreement, those 3 days we took to hammer out the agreement, we forgot something. The OTPT scale and how it should be aligned to the other ancillary folks in their group, in their pay scale. So we forgot that. And so now we're just adding it to the contract, and there is one person that this affects, one audiologist. They're very difficult to find. I think we have had in the past 4 or 5, but it's still part of the negotiated agreement, even though it's still one person, so we had to fix it.
Any questions? All right, does that conclude your recommendations for review?
Yes, it does, Madam President.
Madam Treasurer, your recommendations for review?
Okay. Monthly financials, it is a placeholder until the finance committee meets on Thursday. We have donations, 3 donations. Thank you, donors, until we send it the thank you letter. Approval of the minutes. We have minutes for June and May and June. I don't think you will have a question on that. I have purchase requisitions from several departments. Let's look at them, and if you have a question, we'll ask. We'll answer.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. I know you usually have one day to go.
I did, actually. I wrote them down. Wait, this is purchase.
Purchase recs, yes.
Okay. Dr. Jones or Mr. Anderson, the first student for routing services, how did it go last year? I think last year was one of these last year. Is there something different this year? Why are we doing it again if we have our own routing department?
Our first student representative, he routes non-DPS schools. Our 3 regular routers route all the DPS schools, so just to balance the workload. So this is the last year of the contract with first student. So he does route all our non-DPS schools.
Okay. Is there a plan to bring it in-house with just hiring another router?
More than likely, we'll hire another router. We haven't made that determination yet. We'll kind of review it this year. We're trying to, right size or reduce routes, but throughout the school year, we'll review what we're going to do.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mr. Walker, I just want to add that we tried to get out of the contract when I was a business manager, and the routers asked that we keep them for another year to let them get trained and get better at routing, and so now we're at the conclusion of that. So who knows? Maybe Dr. Jones and his team will get out of it.
Perfect. And
Just
then
reminiscent about my business manager.
another question that I have, this is, in the under 15,000, there are 2 on there that are over.
Over 15,000
Yeah.
by a lot?
Yeah, one is 58,000 and one is 68,000. Perfect. And then the other question that I have is, I see that we're getting furniture for River's Edge 7th grade classroom. I'm just curious of how many students are actually enrolled in 7th grade at Rivers Edge. And the second part of that question would be, there are other buildings that also need furniture for classrooms or teacher work desks. Like I know I've said probably months ago about even international school. Is there a plan to right-size these other buildings like this?
The first question is, there are 30 students currently enrolled at Rivers Edge. That's been a resounding success of keeping kids in DPS. If given the choice of not entering in the Stivers and then leaving and going to a charter school, parochial or Chaminade, overwhelmingly, most of those students that were left from that bunch have decided to stay at Rivers Edge. We get an update on a regular basis from Dr. Stacy Vincent-Taylor. She works closely with the chief academic officer and assistant superintendent on conversations around furniture and the building readiness schedule. So I haven't read those reports in detail, but I see the emails going back and forth, and if she wants to talk about it, she can.
Okay, is there a, so I'll stay on Rivers Edge. Are all of the students that are going there for 7th grade from Rivers Edge 7th grade?
I know of just one in my, that I was involved in that situation, and I asked that student go there because the process was you go there, and there's I don't want to call it an interview because it's not, but it's a process where the parent and the student are brought to Rivers Edge to explain what Montessori is, because as Board Member Reiner says a lot, she's right, Montessori isn't for everyone. And so we want to let you know what you're getting into before you start there. And I can't remember the email traffic chain. I remember starting it and then getting involved and saying, hey, let's get this parent involved in understanding what Montessori is, but I'm not sure what happened after that. I can find out and let you know.
Okay, I appreciate it. And then a non-related but 7th grade question. Do you know how many students are enrolled in 7th grade at Belmont?
The last count I saw was 5 or 6.
Okay, if I could get an update of the building numbers for middle schools, for all middle schools for this upcoming year.
Absolutely.
Not now, but just like.
Yeah. I was kind of scanning to see, like, where's Ms. Shee, where's Ms. Minor? Oh, they're not here.
Wondering the same question.
Yeah, Ms. Minor is on vacation. She's in Las Vegas. I just saw a picture of she and her 93-year-old mother in the Grand Canyon somewhere.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's all my questions.
All right, any other questions?
Of what, Madam President?
Go ahead.
Okay, the purchase order for payments in lieu of transportation. I don't know who computes this, but this was computed assuming that we're providing transportation to all high school students. That's the question, a yes or no question.
I'm sorry, sir, could you repeat your question?
The $161,318.63 for payment in lieu, payment or reimbursement to parents of students of residency attending non-public schools. This assumes that we've decided to provide transportation to all public school students.
It's very similar
all.
to last year. It's for K through 8.
It's the same as last year.
Yeah, same as last year, K through 8, the students we deemed impractical to transport
Okay.
for K through 8.
So it does not include high school students?
It does not, no ma'am.
Oh, it does not include
It does
high
not,
school
it does not
students.
include high school.
Thank you.
Mr. Walker, you have a question?
No, I'll ask it offline.
Okay. Any other questions on purchase requisition?
What, real quick, I'm a little confused with what he said. So, you said.
Turn your mic on, turn your mic on.
You said that it's the same as last year, that price?
Essentially, yes.
So wouldn't last year would have included the high schools? No?
Yeah, it's pre-K through 8.
Okay.
So an example would be the STEM school. We're supposed to provide transportation for them. Let's say you say, I don't want your transportation to go to STEM school, which is not a high school, then we pay you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions on purchase requisitions? All right, Madam Treasurer, your next one for review.
I have one Zenin now. And let's look at it and we'll answer the question.
Okay, can someone explain to us why we are getting a then and now? What happened here? Whomever used marketing TV commercials.
Hi, when we were notified that Cincinnati Public had some budget cuts and laid off several teachers, we endeavored on having a hiring event, which is taking place tomorrow. And therefore, once we found out about that, it was after the fact in terms of getting them to market some new commercials for us.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any other questions? All right, your next recommendation, which this is for a vote, and I do want to note, this is actually out of the business manager, but it's under purchase rec, so business manager, please meet your timelines next time. But Madam Treasurer, your recommendation.
That's it. That concludes my recommendation.
You have a 48-hour waiver for a purchase requisition.
Wait,
Oh, please refresh your screens.
I didn't see.
That's a different one. This is for the Stanley Avenue lease. Dr. Jones, if you could come and explain this one to us, please. If you all refresh your screens, you will see it is added on there.
So originally, it was passed for us to actually secure the building and to make those payments. We made the payment last month for the month of July. We wanted to make sure that it covered for the rest of the year, so we wouldn't have to continue to do it over and over again. So moving forward, we won't need to come back and seek approval every month.
Any questions on the request that the treasurer will make to us for the 48-hour waiver? All right, Madam Treasurer, your recommendation?
That's it.
You have a 48-hour waiver you have to recommend to us,
Is
or
that-
not.
Is that for a vote?
That's what it's asking for.
Oh, gosh, okay. I recommend the approval of the 48-hour rule to present the following 48-hour waiver, purchase requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Walker, second by Mr. Lacy. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick.
We're not doing that anymore, yes.
7 yeses.
Your recommendation for the actual purchase requisition
yeah.
now?
I recommend the approval of the purchase requisition.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lacy, second by Dr. Bailey. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith, Ms.
Yes.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick. 7 yeses.
Thank you. Dr. Jones, your first recommendation for a vote? Can you turn your mic on?
Use the last one.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, Madam President. I recommend ratification of the following resolution, authorizing an exception to the hiring suspension for custodial and safety and security staffing for the alternative school for the 2025-2026 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Walker, second by Ms. Reiner. Any questions on the motion?
I do. Dr. Jones, so this is for custodians and SROs.
Yes, sir.
Will there be another one for nutrition services for the building?
Well, we're going to start out with actually transferring food from another school. And we also have sub kitchen workers that can go over and facilitate, cafeteria duties or the distribution of lunch and breakfast.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. since we don't know how many students will be in the building starting off.
Okay, and then second part, looking back at the budgeted numbers for SROs, that's 53. Is that including these two, or would that now make it 55?
I'll have to get back to you on that one. Yes, sir.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, do we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick. 7 yeses.
The next recommendation for our vote?
All right, I recommend ratification of the following resolution. Administrative salary scale change for the assistant business manager position.
Can you give us some background on it?
Certainly. The associate business manager position requires a license by the state of Ohio. It is not something that is easily secured. And it's also a position that will be comparable to an assistant treasurer or an assistant superintendent as well.
Okay, is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved in second, moved by Mr. Walker, second by Dr. Bailey. Are there any questions on the motion?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Okay, first off, my first question would be, why was this not then brought to us to review and instead just being brought where it comes up on an agenda, where the agenda even came out later than usual, and then we're being told to make a around $35,000 change to a singular position at this board meeting instead of reviewing it for the next board meeting?
I don't know that much would change in terms of the numbers and everything.
I'm not
If
saying
you would like
numbers,
to,
just being able as a board member to be able to even digest, because I have other questions around it, and so I just feel like, why would it not be brought up for a review instead of a vote? That is my first question. My fault, I didn't mean to cut you off. Then secondly, I understand the getting the license piece, but the need for the license was present when the position was created, correct?
correct.
And so it wasn't created to this salary scale then when we still knew that a license was needed, correct?
Correct.
So then my question would be, why the need to change it now, especially when we've had people throughout the district trying to figure out where they're going to be placed, and we then say for one position, we'll make this leap, where to me it's not about the person, it's the process of just changing it right now when nothing is new about the position. It's a position that was created. We had a salary for that position then. So for me, it's just a lot to try to move in the midst of other things going on. For me to just say, okay, I'll hear about it today, and we're going to make this leap for the position when nothing's new. There's no state changes in it. There's nothing saying that new requirements are for the position. And so that is what I'm having a hard time trying to swallow.
And I understand your concerns. We saw this as an opportunity to essentially correct the salary. When you look at the structure of the Treasury and the superintendency, you have individuals that report to someone that essentially, makes more than them. Currently, we have our associate business manager who makes less than the people that report to that individual.
And I understand that. I think that for me is why when we talk about communication, I think that is a space to have communication with the board to say, hey, I'm seeing an issue here, let us work on this. But for me, I'm looking at something where it's no communication about anything, and we're just going, we're gonna make this, we're not even gonna do a review where we talk about it. It's just, make this change, let's go vote on it. So that is the concern I have, but
Thank you. I will say, Dr. Jones, and actually not you, Dr. Lawrence and Madam Treasurer, because I don't think that is correct that a license is required for your associate positions. They're required for your positions. Is that correct?
That is correct. Well, well, you can't be an associate superintendent without a superintendent license.
Okay, Treasurer? Madam Treasurer?
It's required for
You
the
gotta have a-
treasurer.
Is it
not
required
for
for, I know
assistant.
for us to hire a business manager is required, but there is nothing in the statute about an associate. I'm just saying that that's not true, that it was required for the position on that piece of it. And that piece, like, I don't have an issue with it. I do think that you have to right size and do things correctly. And it is something that should have been corrected when we established the position initially, because it is a position that manages individuals and has a lot more responsibilities than the chief or the senior executive director, which are those, correct me if I'm wrong, are those your other higher two positions in there?
Correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions on the motion?
So the 0 to 3, that's the current salary. Is that different or no?
No, sir.
no, it's $100,000.
100,000, 105,000 is the
So it's
current salary.
$30,000 bump.
Oh. But then the 1.5% increase each year, is that comparable to other administrators?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any other questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes?
Mr. Smith,
No.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick. 6 yeses, 1 no.
Thank you. On to new business. We have two policies. One, the second one is for second reading. It was missed. We did first reading on it already. In so much as the Board of Education is committed to the continuing updating of its policies, rules, and regulations manual, and the committee, which was appointed, has been working towards that goal. The following is brought at this time for second reading in compliance with Board file. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of Dayton City School District, Montgomery County, Ohio, hereby accepts and adopts the following policies that have been codified for inclusion in the Handbook of Policies, Rules, and Regulations. BDC, Executive Session. I move that we adopt this policy. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Dr. Goodwine, second by Mr. Walker. Any questions on the motion? Go ahead, Ms. Reiner.
Thank you, President Goodwin. You said that this went through, so remind me when this went through
Give
policy
me
committee.
one second, Ms.
'cause I'm-
Kidd. Ms. Kidd is the one who brought this to my attention. Can someone, Ms. Kidd, can you come to the mic? We need you. We gotta know what you're saying. Our board clerk brought this to my attention. I said, no. Come on. You guys get to see the person behind the magic today.
How about you go ahead to the other ones while I find the date? Do your other one first, and I'll find the exact date that it
Oh,
went.
okay, so I'll withdraw my motion and we'll come back.
Thank you.
Okay, second policy, this actually did not go through the policy committee. I'm actually bringing this policy forward to the board as a way to make sure that we have some accountability on the contracts that we put in place for our district employees that we give discretionary cards to. I did send this out to you guys for you to review, and this is where we'll have any discussion about it at this point, once I put a motion on the floor on that piece of it. So before I can ask, I think I gotta put a motion out though. So I move that we adopt for first and second reading policy JHI, district credit card use and travel for board appointed employees. Is there a second?
Second?
Second, moved by Dr. Goodwine, second by Mr. Lacy. Now the floor is open to questions. Mr. Walker, I believe you were first. Oh, I thought you had a question. Anyone else on question on the policy? Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Yes. Okay, first, is there a reason for the expediency in having the first and second reading simultaneously today?
Yes, I worked with the treasurer on this policy, and we are now in a new contractual cycle for our employees, which starts over a new piece of it, and it needs to be active now so the treasurer can adequately do her position on when it comes to making sure we are in compliance with how we are utilizing district cards.
All right, cool.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes?
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes?
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reiner,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you. I'm gonna keep moving. Ms. Kidd is still working on that. The next one, I recommend the approval of the following purchase requisition. This is the requisition for us to cover the expenses of ordering tents for our schools that are branded in the schools, because, you know, we want them to have that. Is there a second?
Second.
Second moved by Dr. Goodwine, second by Dr. Bailey. Are there any questions on the motion?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
All right, have we talked to any vendors about this? Have we gotten any quotes? It's $35,000 is a lot for tents.
Yes, Mr. Smith, Ms. Kidd has actually been great in spearheading that. The first quote we got was from BSN, which is about 13 to 14,000, but fortunately, one of our great administrative assistants, I believe that's the title I saw, sent some other options, so this is the max that we would have to spend. Our goal is, we found another vendor that was about 600 a pop, so we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, you can get tents $500 to $600.
It's custom tents, though, that's a little bit
You
different
can
for
get,
'em.
I'm saying because I've done them, you can get custom tents. They don't cost a whole lot. So hopefully, we will not go, I would not want to spend that much money on these tents if we already do not see that these schools are using any tents right now. So we'll be basically saying we would be paying close to third, which I hope we do not, because I would not want to pay this much money for tents for an event if we have not seen the schools demonstrate the need for having tents before, because if they do not have them, then they have not been using them. And so I wouldn't want to spend this money for these tents to put up in a closet somewhere in a school, and we would just be paying $30-some thousand for tents to have at one event. So hopefully we can find a good price point. And for me, I mean, even if I get wanting to have customizable things, but if they have not demonstrated that they are using them, I do not see a need to spend extra money for things that people do not use. Well,
Any other, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Dr. Goodwine,
Go ahead.
if I could say, to address Mr. Smith's concern first, right now, the current quote I'm working on is, the base cost is less than half of that, and of course, because of the quantity, I'm asking them for a discount. So they are in California, and they are emailing me as we speak, so I may even have an exact quote for you by the end of the meeting. I can let you know, but the starting cost is less than half of what the original quote was. Back to the policy BDC. I'm sorry, good evening, everyone. The policy BDC went for the first reading on March 18th, and it was just never brought back for second reading of this year.
Okay, so any other questions on the current motion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Just to throw it out there, do we have anything like for the tables that identifies the schools? Like if, outside of just the event that we know that schools will need it for, but as far as like anything else throughout the school year, like I know that a lot of schools will have their own back to school events or open houses, but looking at like other things they may have to identify their specific school.
I think this event opened our eyes that we need to pay attention to smaller details about branding for our schools. I don't know the answer to that, so I'm gonna kick that to Dr. Lawrence, but I will say that we are providing, like our logistic team, because Dr. Jones and his team has been great at making sure we have what we need to make this happen for our schools, that they're giving the tables and chairs for it. I don't know if they have table coverings and things, but those
Yeah.
would be, yeah.
And
It opens the eyes that we need to do a better job at ensuring that someone is looking into their branding and helping them, so when they do show up, they aren't just putting it together.
I appreciate it, and if I could, it's probably too late for this one, but look at down the line departments. I don't know if HR still has things that says human resources when they go out to hiring events, but just looking at just those various departments that may go out, like even transportation that identifies that this is Dayton Public School transportation and things like that. I know looking into the marketing of events that take place in the community and across the state, that is a great thing to see that you are truly in a true organization and not a made-up one that just popped up today.
Shots. Any other questions on the motion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick. 7 yeses.
All right, going back up to policy for second reading, I move that we adopt policy BDC. Is there a second? Moved by Dr. Goodwine, second by Dr. Bailey. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith, Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick. 7 yeses.
All right, our next thing on for us to do is high school transportation. So the first thing, I'll just put a motion out there and we'll see how it goes. And if something different we're gonna do. I move that we do not buy RTA, what are those things called? Passes this school year. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Dr. Goodwine, second by Mr. Walker. Now the floor is open for discussion.
I'll start it. I think that city elected officials and state representatives have placed, they tied our hands as a district. Actually, call a spade a spade. They tied a urban district, actually 2 urban districts in the state with something, and it is not changing. I think like there's nothing that can be done on our end. As far as RTA's already told us they cannot get the buses. I think even looking at it, it's a problem. It will be truly a problem for parents, but those who are elected to those areas did this and continue to do things that harm us. So at this point, I don't think like there's any other options out there.
Mr. Lacy?
Well, I mean, I had discussed with Dr. Lawrence when we were at the Y.
Of course.
The possibility of refunding students. And I don't know how much that's been looked into or if it's been discussed with legal. The idea in my mind would be, and I guess that could be looked into later, or as we go forward, the idea of refunding students and possibly refunding students the value of a monthly card at $80 or that we have to pay. But they would have to show us that they bought a card and that they're attending school at some level of attendance. But I'm not sure if there's been discussions with legal about that. And then secondly, the question, if you want to go ahead, or if you've already looked into that possibility.
So we had a little bit of a conversation at the beginning of this school year when there was frustration around the cost of the RTA cards or the versus the general public. And so legal did look into that. There are some things that I believe we could possibly do in terms of going into a contract, but it would, I mean, with that new legislation, I think they'd still try to come after us in terms of fines, because we'd be giving families money to purchase RTA passes.
You don't have to have
Or were you referring to like different, or using that money for different modes of transportation outside of RTA?
I'm gonna say you don't have to have an answer for us tonight, because it's more so, anything you get from us would be just a request for research.
Right.
So then.
Right.
Because this, our decision today, we still need solutions here, and that is going to be the ask of the team here to come back with solutions, because, you know, school starts in about a
Right.
month, and we have students that we still serve that we do want in our halls.
Right, right, okay.
But it is in legislation that if they buy their own passes, then they're allowed to go downtown.
I would say it's not in the legislation that way, it just, the legislation is
I
restricted
guess
to us as a
some
district.
version of it that I read, or probably the
Right.
Daily News or
It's-
something
it's-
like that.
So
It's
yeah.
restricted to us as a district, like, it, you would run into some constitutional issues of you targeting a single provider. So there's nothing in it that prevents a person from buying something outside of the district. The only harm, which would be into some type of fines for the district, is if the district purchased the pass. And you can correct me if I'm incorrect, Dr. Jones. If the district purchased the passes and there was no resolve of those students going through the downtown hub, because it prevents specifically students being able to transfer
To get
downtown.
transfers, correct.
So if that liability, it is possible that we would be penalized for something we have no control over.
Madam President, yes, you're absolutely correct, yes.
Okay.
And to be clear, the law is restricted to Dayton Public Schools and Akron
Summit
Public
County and Montgomery County, so Akron and Dayton.
And
Originally,
not
it
by-
affected,
Not by name, but just the description by size and
Correct.
so forth, yeah.
Originally, it was, they used the language of Ohio 8, or 8 urbans, 5.
Yeah.
And now, you know, they
Yeah, the law-
relegated it to numbers, which was specific to Dayton and Akron.
And Mr. Lacy, even with yours, because I think that was a question we had before as well. If parents went out and purchased their own passes, could the district reimburse the parent? But I think that still will tie our hands on the state side, because still it would look like that we're paying for a pass.
I think so. Yes, sir.
Mr. Blakely, were you finished?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
My question is, along with the question, we don't actually have to vote on. We don't have to vote on not doing something. Like, we don't vote to buy passes, we vote on the recommendation of a purchase. So if there's just no purchase, there just wouldn't be a purchase, there's no need to vote about not having a purchase. Like, it's like us saying we're not gonna buy football equipment for a space. We don't have to say we're not doing something by vote. We just don't do it.
But
We can put it out to people that we're not doing it, but to vote for the sake of voting is just to do. Because we only vote on the purchase of passes when we purchase the pass. Previously, the last time that we had a vote of purchasing passes, it was after a previous superintendent said we will not be purchasing passes. We did not vote to say that we wouldn't be doing it. She first said that we weren't. Conversations were had. She changed her mind. We found the price, and then we voted. So my thing is, what are we really voting for? If we don't have anything that we're purchasing, then there's no need to vote. We could just say, because of this that is going on, we will not be purchasing passes. I don't see why there's a need to vote on it, because there's nothing to purchase.
Madam President.
Hold on, I got a order of people. Okay. Were you finished, Mr. Smith?
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Reiner, Mr. Walker, Mr. Lacy.
Thank you, President Goodwine. Just to sum up, and at the risk of sounding like we're repeating ourselves for a few times, I wanted to make things very clear to the public right now. I'm speaking to them. We are in this position because the State House mandates us to transport every single child in this city, regardless of whether they choose a public school or a non-public school. Because of that, we are not able to transport all of our DPS kids K-12. So we are meeting the state mandates to bus our K-8 students as well as non-public K-8 students. In order to facilitate high school student transportation for DPS and non-DPS students, we've been buying bus passes. And because of this amendment in House Bill 96, if the district purchases bus passes for our students, they cannot use the RTA hub downtown, which is necessary for many, many of those students to get from home to school and from school to home. So it's not, we do not want to take anything away from our students. The decision to not be able to give our students bus passes was not made by us. It was made by the State House. I would like to affirm that every single person on this board and every single person in this district wants to transport our students from their homes to school and from school back to home at the end of the school day. Every single person here wants to be able to do that. But we logistically cannot meet the demands of the State House to also transport the non-public students in Dayton. And that is why we are here in this position. If anybody up here thinks differently, that our priority is transporting Dayton Public School students. If anybody feels differently, feel free to speak up now. But with this decision to not purchase bus passes, I believe that we are not finished trying to figure out what transportation will look like at this school year. Dr. Jones, are there still things that we are working on in the works that we are not quite ready to hear as recommendations from you tonight?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. We're working fanatically to try to figure out what we can do to, despite the legislation, to get our kids back and forth between school and home.
Thank you.
Yes.
And hopefully we will have the recommendations from you soon so we can do whatever we can to transport as many of our Dayton Public School students as possible.
Most definitely, yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you, Dr. Jones. Thank you, Dr. Goodwin.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Thank you to my colleagues. I will just say it because I am that guy. This part of the legislation came because the mayor, Commissioner Chris Shaw, and State Representative Phil Plummer had a press conference once a student, and Representative Tom Young, had a press conference to boost themselves up after a killing of a DPS student at a location next to the hub. So to do this type of action and tie the district's hand is crazy for local legislators who once stood for public education. Let's just call it what it is. The second part with that is, I think us saying, because there is a budget line item for bus passes, or something like that, in transportation budget for high school students, this now says to our team that you have $2.6 million to try to figure out some alternatives, since clearly the legislation says we cannot have students on the RTA bus go from A, which A would be their building, to the RTA hub as B, and then C to home. Also, these bus passes allow students to get to work, remain for after-school activities, go to community rec centers, which we don't have anything for youth right now. This is where we are. Thank you.
Mr. Lacy.
Well, I was going to say I agree with Mr. Smith that, you don't really vote on not doing something. But is there nothing in policy? Is it just simply a practice that we, every year, that we decide what our transportation system will be?
I would say it's not in policy, but we have set a precedent on this board that these type of big issues, our team needs a direction on which way to go in that piece of it. And I think just about everybody who's sitting on this dais has been in multiple meetings with other stakeholders who are actively trying to tell us which direction to go. And we got to make a decision so our team can move effectively, because they need it. It's a lot of conversation we've seen from Board Member Walker and Board Member Reiner, just the statements that they made, that there has been a lot of external activity when it comes to transportation here. It has been a hot topic in this district. It has been a frustration for our business community. It has been a frustration for us because, again, to echo what Board Member Reiner stated, we want safe transportation for all of our students, all of our high schools, for every child that's in Dayton that we are responsible for. We want those type of things to occur. So although it is not typical or required for us to do these type of things, we are just settling the question at this point, because it is beyond just a decision made at the administration level, because it got beyond them.
Okay. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, so I do want to say, I want to echo, because those weren't my comments, that was just responding to Mr. Lacy. I do want to say that I appreciate, and I'm also calling on our community to help come up with solutions. Like, no, I don't have a prediction of how the vote will go. It will happen in a second. But in the event that we do vote to stop this process, there is still a gap that needs to be filled. And if we had another solution, then we would have been doing that prior to getting here. We wouldn't have gotten to this point. We wouldn't be at how big this has gotten. So this is something that impacts all high school students, not just DPS students. The charter schools also rely on those passes to get by. If there are tangible solutions, because we don't have an unlimited budget, we don't have unlimited resources, we need people to really, as we talk about community and what that means in this area, we need you all to step up, because students, they need you now more than ever. Teenage years are hard years. It's where you find your identity. It's where you decide what you want to do and not do. It's where you become cool in that sense of it. And it's also where a lot of kids, if they're not guided and they don't have a supportive village around them, it is where you can fall off and not really actualize the type of potential you can be. So my ask, not only to the individuals in this room, but to the community and those who call themselves a part of our community, is that you bring something to the table of what we actually can do and some ideas of how we can actually help each other that is not solely just on this Board of Education to resolve, because we can't resolve it by ourselves. We didn't create it, and we've done our best to sustain it, and ultimately some things happened to where we had to pull out the one resource that we had. So if you come to the table, and come to the table willing to work and not just talk, because we don't need any more talkers. We need people who are willing and active and ready to do something with us and for these children that will never be able to repay you. All right, any other comment? Seeing none, go.
Just make my comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you just said, and it's a shame that we've been in all of these meetings over these past few months, and those that kind of put us in this position and tied our hands to this thing are also at the table saying, we want to help you with a solution, but they don't have a solution. I think that's just a travesty. I would like to see, just like you, Dr. Goodwine, not just the community, but I would like to also see the other charter schools have a buy-in to this solution if their children are being transported, because I haven't heard anything from any of the charter schools myself. I don't know if anybody else has. So the community has to have a good buy-in, the charter schools has to have a good buy-in, and the city has to have a buy-in to this whole solution, and also the business community. That's all I really have to say.
All right, thank you. Mr. Smith?
Yep, I just say, a lot of this is just what it is. I think we can talk about what happens, we can talk about what people do until we're blue in the face. It doesn't change anything. And until we get to being proactive on things and just moving forward, we're gonna be stuck at the whim of folk who make those decisions. So I get it. I think I was upset for all of about 5 minutes, and then you have to move on. And gotta figure this out. Gotta work with our community folk. We can ask people for help, but it really takes cultivating those relationships, and that's a dual thing. I think also just this situation, for me, it highlights the power that we have in our words, even when we do not know where they're going. And the way I say that is, for a while, we can talk about some of the people who pushed to have this legislation, but at the root of some of that legislation is conversation that had been had for a while about the fact, and people who wanted to make sure everybody was on yellow buses when we could not put them on yellow buses. So you have that conversation around, people are saying, hey, what can we do? We got to get them on yellow buses. We don't have the drivers, we do not have the buses. So all that does is it allows other people who do not care about our shortcomings, and that was the quote, hey, I don't want to hear about their excuses. So I think for me, it's a lesson in understanding what we have, understanding our resources, and not pushing for things that we do not have. Because this is where we end up sometimes. So if we're gonna move forward, it's gonna take relationship building, it's gonna take creativity. I know that we can do it. We'll get past this. We will. We'll get past it. It's not all doom and gloom. Even when we talk about buying bus passes, it's not like it's been a 30, 40-year tradition here. We just started redoing this recently. We didn't before get the kids bus passes to go to jobs and things. So it's gonna take us to be creative, to figure out what's next and how to move. And I just want everybody in this district to take their energy there, because being upset at folk does nothing for us. So I appreciate everybody here. We're gonna get through it. We'll make these things that we need to do. We'll pull in closer together. And that's what we're just gonna have to do. We can't rely on folk. Their past behavior showing what they're gonna do moving forward. So we can work on improving relationships, but until then, it's about these kids. We gotta keep the main thing the main thing. Thank you, Madam President.
Any other comments? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Abstain.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick. 6 yes, 1 abstain.
Thank you. Next on our agenda for discussion is the naming of a facility. As you guys know, we actually have 2 new facilities that we've not named because we didn't do the process to do it and bring it up for a name. But I wanted to bring this to your attention because I know our team has been moving in since we have the alternative school, Jackson Center, of doing the steps properly to actually allow this process of people to be involved in coming up or naming the school. So we actually, Ms. Kidd was gracious enough to give me the policy and the regulation. On here, I only see the policy, but the regulation actually has the steps that come into play next, which we would be directing the superintendent to go ahead and establish this committee comprised of administrators, parents, community members, employees, and students to suggest the name of the school and that piece of it. So I wanted to bring that to your attention because to get an actual official name for it, we have to do the things necessary to make that happen. It does not just happen amongst just our team. It is actually a good little process. Any comments, anything like that on it?
Yes.
Go ahead.
My question first would be then to the board of, do we want to change the name of these buildings?
Let's have that conversation. I will tell you, yes, I do want to see what's out there, and I'll be honest with you, I'm also gonna ask the board that we waive the requirement that the individual, because our policy says it has to be after deceased individual, and I think there are living individuals in our community that we should honor with it. So for me, it is I would like to see the process and see what we come up with. Because the name Jackson, it did mean something at a time to the individuals who named it at that one, but I'm not sure if it still resonates here. Anyone else?
I agree also with renaming the schools, also changing it to someone that is still alive. We've got a lot of people in this community that have done a lot of good work, some of them are still in the school system and working in the school system, such as some of the mayors, retired mayors. So it would be nice that we rename it to someone that is around, that's working in the school system. I think Joe Lacy, I think you guys said he's got some kind of a plaque or something like that.
Joe was on every building.
And when he goes to the buildings, the students would be able to identify with him a little bit. But to have someone, to me, that's alive, working in the school systems, that these kids can see and can talk to about their legacy would be great.
Anyone else?
I mean, I remember there was an attempt to rename Ruskin. And although John Ruskin is not an American, I believe he's an Englishman, who who was big in creating public education. It had such, the name was so connected to that community that there was the attempts to rename it failed pretty much by just the neighborhood around it was very used to that school or that place being called Ruskin. But yeah, yeah, Jackson, I think, is named for Andrew Jackson, which I don't know that we should have a school named for Andrew Jackson.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Just to piggyback on that too, I was going to say that, and with the Jackson Center, I think most of the people that were over there in that community now are gone. They've torn down all the projects up there and everything, where the kids were going to that school. But you guys changed Residence Park, where I went, and it was Residence Park Elementary and the other part Residence Park Middle School forever.
Cornell Heights at Residence Park.
And now it's just International School. So
At Residence Park, we never changed the name.
It was WOW for a
So
while.
We just slapped it on there.
y'all just slapped that on there.
That's not us. It's still Residence Park.
Yeah, I felt a certain kind of way when you didn't
That's why I still
call it
say it.
Residence Park anymore.
That was a Will Smith board.
A Will Smith board?
No, we trying to do that. It was and it was WOW. If you don't remember, your school got sold off. It was a charter school for a little while first.
That's true.
Don't be forgetting that history over there.
Okay, any other thoughts?
While I do, and I enjoy the thought of seeing what's out there, my concern here is I would feel differently if we were talking about like when this school was created. This is a high school. We knew what it was. When we started out, the building came over. It had a principal, it had staff, it had students. So the only thing left was to figure out, was you going to call it Colonel White Steel? Was you going to call it Rolfe Steel? The Thurgood Marshall name came from the students in the community who did not want to still have it named after Nettie Lee Rolfe. For me, if we're talking about renaming Jackson or renaming this because we're having this alternative school, I think we're putting the cart before the horse if we're worried about what we're going to call something and we do not have staff, we do not have students, we do not have a curriculum done, we do not have furniture, there's so many things to me. I would much rather honor somebody by giving them a successful school than by naming a project after someone, and then after a year or two, we do not even have that going on anymore. That would be my fear. Is I'm all for it. I'm more concerned with making sure this school that we said would be open in August, as we sit in July, I'm more concerned that that part of it gets done. I get the want to do these things. I think if we're going to do that, it should be an elongated process because it should overlap the actual building being done. As of right now, we do not have a single student for this school. We do not have a single class roster, a single list of staff to be over there. I would not want us to have our staff who's getting ready for a school year to be worried about trying to come up with a process to name a building when we do not know if this building would be in existence next year. I think that would be the ultimate slap in the face, especially to someone living, to name a building after someone and then the next year it shuts down. Or to name a building after someone and it's a complete failure. I'm more concerned with making sure whatever we put over there is successful.
So if I may, I had the opportunity to attend Colonel White High School.
Grade school.
Well, grade school was Webster, Ruskin, then Kaiser, Colonel White Academic Magnet Academy, then Thurgood Marshall at Colonel White High School, and then Thurgood Marshall. So I think, like, looking at it, and I mean, to put this out there, and kind of hate doing this, I don't think Dr. Lawrence likes to have any failures, so I don't see the building that will open as the alternative school as a total loss or anything like that. I think success comes easy to his team in a lot of ways, and Dr. Jones and his team with operations, and Madam Treasurer with budgeting. So I think looking at the alternative school, I think it absolutely needs a name. I think having students go to a building that right now is Jackson Center, but will be named as, or known for, hey, it's an alternative school. I think when you heard Longfellow had the alternative part, but everybody knew Longfellow by itself. So I think it's an opportunity for students to have something to look forward to when they enter. I know principals just came back, and principals are working through their student body to see which students absolutely need intensive resources that they're not going to fully get inside of a building because of, hey, one student may need 30% of support, another one may need 130% of support. So I think the opportunity there is worth the investment. For the international school, it has done really well since the years that it has been open with the population or the demographics and things like that that is assigned to it. And I think we can only achieve more by investing more into the process. I think giving the same thing as with Thurgood Marshall when it was named, giving the current student body an opportunity to actually have a part of naming a school that I can remember when I get older and much wiser and grow into who I am as an adult, gives them a little bit more to look forward to on a daily basis.
Question, if I may.
Go ahead.
Are we considering renaming the international school, or would it just still be Residence Park? I mean, it's named after the neighborhood.
We haven't considered anything. We're just going over what the process is and seeing where the board wants to go. So again, the staff has direction on what to do or not do.
And can I add to that though? For me, it is like, it's also about looking at some of our other schools that are named after individuals who it may be time for a change in regards to those buildings as well. So to put this information out there to the community, to the district on, here's how you go about if you feel that you want to look at a name change for a building. Here's how that process works with the board and the district and things like that. There's another building I have in mind that I do want to change the name to, like, and I told the people which one, so.
Yeah, my concern with that would be also, like, if we move things just for the sake of moving it, then we lose the ability to teach history. I think if we're going to go down that lane, I think it's like, when they named this after this building being renamed into Thurgood Marshall was 30, 40, 50-year process. There was protest when it was named Nettie Lee Roth then. There was protest about the fact that the person that this building was named after was, people's minds, a racist principal from Roosevelt. That is an understanding of why, okay, when we do this, let's move this. But then there's other buildings where if we're just not understand, like you have Kaiser. Kaiser's named after the family that donated the land. You have I wouldn't want us to then miss out on the opportunities to teach about the history of our communities as well. So I think if you're going to go down that lane, it would behoove us to actually dive in and understand why our buildings are called what they're called. Like, I think understanding those pieces we had, when we talk about the alternative school, it's a shift from what we had before Longfellow, and you had Grace A. Green. Grace A. Green was a 30-year principal here. Like, it's that piece of, these are still parts of our community, or parts of what went on around here, parts of that thing of, if we do not know the history that we have, who's to say that then in 20 years, someone will look and go, okay, XYZ school, that does not suit me anymore, who cares, let's name it something else. And then you get in the process of changing these things, and that's how we got to some of the issues we have in Dayton now, because we did not hold on to history. That's why you have people that feel like they've been abandoned by DPS, because when we close buildings, we, close it down, we don't do much for those names. Like, it's that piece where you have a bunch of Patterson grads that are like, where's my attachment? My attachment isn't to opponents. You have Colonel White grads that come around, my attachment, their attachment isn't here. Roth sat here, their attachment isn't to this building. So I think I appreciate the conversations. I think the deeper conversation is, how do we attach the history to what we have? How do we attach the current people that live in our communities to what we have? Because that is a piece. That is a real piece. Mr. Lacy talked about it. People really fought for that Ruskin name and stay over there like that. These are real things. So diving into those makes sense. If you look at names where it's okay, I wouldn't want to have a school named after like the president of the Confederacy. Yeah, no, it's kind of different there. But I think there's a space of learning what goes on. Like Kemp, teaching those kids over there why that school is called Kemp is a real thing then. Because then I can tie into why they should value that neighborhood. Teaching kids about these things are huge, and I don't want us to pass up on that piece either. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, Madam Treasurer, can we take a poll on if we do want to do a process?
Sure.
So we are polling if we want to go through the process to see what do the name changing.
Okay. Who will move it? Just-
No, not a move, I just want to do a poll.
just a poll.
Okay. Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes?
Mr. Smith,
You talking about both schools or one? Or just a process period to look at everything?
Process period.
I don't mind.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick. 7 yeses.
All right, so Dr. Lawrence, would you like us to do an official thing for this, or was that enough for you to do what the policy says about? I mean, you don't have a timeline on it, but it's not forever, but to get started on getting community feedback on this piece. Community staff and student feedback.
That's more than enough. We've already got a lot of practice doing that with Ford and GL and a bunch of other projects. We have no problems with it. I think, while I have the mic, I want to double down on what Board Member Walker said. Our intent is for the building to be successful, and we'll let the community and board speak about the name.
All right, I do want to note the final line, although the board considers all recommendations, final authority rests with the board. So we may or may not like it. It go either way here. What comes back? All right. Closing comments. Ms. Hamilton, do you have anything? All right. Dr. Jones, do you have anything? Ms. Hewitt, do you have any? Madam Treasurer, do you have anything?
Yes.
Go ahead.
This fiscal year 2025, it was very good financially to the district, and we had so many accolades. We closed the year in good faith, and we opened fiscal year 2026 as the first day of July 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Lawrence.
Thanks, Dr. Goodwine. I want to say welcome back to the principals and assistant principals. The district is kind of quiet without you, so glad to see you back. Even though you may not be glad to be back, we're glad you're back. To the naming piece, I do want to speak about that. One of the people responsible for naming and the architectural structure of Thurgood Marshall is sitting in the back, Ms. Goins. So you have lots of extensive process experience with this, so you'll be leading that naming commission. So you got it. I know you love those type of things. This is right down your alley. I want to say my condolences to Michael Brandon, longtime member of the YMCA, visiting his daughter who was earning a PhD in Chicago. Joe, you've seen him in there a million times. Unfortunately passed away too early. Bear Manita, my condolences to his family. Also a wonderful human being, terrific mentor to me and lots of other people in this region. So my condolences to he and his family. And to Ms. Gum, Paul Joseph Shively, her dad, just passed away. So those are all my comments for today.
Thank you. Ms. Witt? Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Not much to say. Enjoy the summer. Read some books with y'all kids out here. No, really, just about safety, really. There's still too many things going on in our community, and a lot of things that get pushed out of the way. I think sometimes as a local level, we fall prey to the same thing that we do at a national level, and the narratives are usually surrounded by whatever the hot button topic is. I mean, if you look around, a few years ago, everything was around police brutality. You don't see protests around police brutality anymore because it's not the national issue anymore. I want us to really hone in on the work, these kids. There's so many other things that we can do. There's so many other things that we do that have no impact on bettering the lives of the students and families that we serve. And I would hope for us that we take the same zeal that we take into some of these things that at its core boil down to personal conflicts, sometimes ego, sometimes just wanting to do things that we think are right. If it, at the end of the day, if it doesn't move the needle for children, it should get pushed to the back burner. And I think that should be the moving into this school year, because kids are still dying. Parents are still going through a lot of crap that they should not have to go through. And we do not always hear about them because sometimes, hey, it didn't happen downtown. It didn't happen in some splashy manner. Maybe the kid who died had just graduated and now it's not a student died, it's a young man who died. Like, until we get to where every decision we make is about moving the needle for kids, we're going to continue to be how we are as an urban district. Urban districts have way too many to fight, way too many issues to fight to add on to the plate of what we have to deal with. We have outstanding people here in this district. We have to lift each other up. And for me as a board member, I want us as a board to lean on the expertise of our staff. I always think it's one of the craziest things in the world that you can be elected to be a school board member, and really we don't have to have any knowledge of what goes on whatsoever to be elected. But if we do that and then do not lean on the expertise of the people here, learn about what's going on around here, then we end up making decisions that are rooted in a lack of knowledge in what we're even doing. So I just look at the way things are going, and it's not a Dayton problem, it's just a problem across the nation that you have people in these spaces that are making decisions based off personal wants, personal needs, personal goals, when we have amazing people that spend their lives in the educational space. And so I want us to lean more towards the knowledge that they have, because that is the only way we're going to move forward, and then use them so we can learn and study to show thyself approved. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Lacy?
Nothing today.
Ms. Reiner?
Thank you, President Goodwin. I have a few updates. The Board Engagement Committee met, and we had a really great conversation about some of the great activities that we have planned, that Title I and that the Community Outreach Director has planned, talking about how we can work together and bring communities together while also meeting the needs of our students. Title I activities district-wide are held minimum quarterly, and they have to be planned around they have very specific guidelines because this is federal money that supports Title I. We talked about 4 different things that we could do during the school year, the 4 events that would be centered around college and career readiness, math skills, ELL, and MTSS. We also had a really great conversation about the Parent Cafe, which is something we voted at the last meeting. I had some questions for Dr. Lawrence, and I asked him about the Parent Cafe, and I've been extended an invitation to go to some of the Parent Cafe trainings. If you are a parent and you are interested in the Parent Cafe, getting more involved in your school, this is a really great way to do it. shoot me an email or shoot Dr. Lawrence an email while you plugged in. I'm hoping to make the next Parent Cafe training and seeing how that works. So thank you for that invitation. The biggest piece of news, which many people probably already know, is the legislative update. House Bill 96, which is the biennial budget bill, was passed on the last day of June. At about 11:15 p.m. it was signed by the governor, and it had some really particular devastating provisions in it that would have been devastating to public districts across the state. It was a historic disinvestment in public education. And I want to thank Governor DeWine for his 67 line item vetoes that really protected public education. He has always been a great advocate for education. And I, again, thank him for vetoing those 67 provisions. I'll just give you a couple of them. I'm not going to go through the list of 67. He vetoed the non-chartered educational savings account program and education tax credits. He vetoed the STRS and SERS employee contributions line. He vetoed county budget commission authority and procedure. It was a partial veto. Big news is that he vetoed the 40% cash carryover cap. So districts can really be as nimble as they need to be. It would have devastated a large portion of districts across the state, and I'm grateful for that. He line item vetoed the 20 mil floor calculation, which would have included fixed sum levies, and he vetoed the school district property tax restrictions, which would have eliminated the fixed sum levies. So this is good news. We are hopeful that the State House will follow his lead, and that they understand that Governor DeWine prioritized public education and the way that we run our districts with transparency and with accountability to the voters. And I'm grateful for that, and that is all I have.
Mr. Walker.
Thank you. I would echo my colleague and ask you all to please call state legislators who care about public education and make sure that they do not fall victim to sabotaging public education with the House coming back in session, potentially to look at those vetoes later. Dr. Lawrence, Dr. Jones, Dr. Davis, Ms. Aberhart, if you could, I know you have the Principal Institute coming up, but administrators had reached out about the 27 pay. So if there could be some clarity that's sent out regarding that and how that came to like a decision and things like that, please and thank you. There is a lot of things going on at the State House and federal level. This big, beautiful bill, which is a big, ugly bill, will harm public education even more. We took some months off, but we are back in full swing for committee. So ELL committee will be meeting this month, as well as after school activities will be meeting this month. And then lastly for me, just to the family and staff here at Thurgood Marshall on the recent loss of Mr. Aaron Bean, who was a recent graduate of Thurgood Marshall this year. My prayers are with you all through this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bailey. Okay, Dr. Lawrence wanted to come back around one more time.
Thanks, Dr. Goodwin. I will be remiss, Anna Early, long time employee in Dayton Public Schools. She coached everything from bowling to tennis to soccer. She was my track coach when I was 10. We went to West Virginia, and I'm almost 60, and won a national championship, and she was a coach. Anna Early was an institution here. I hear the conversation around, I'm not saying you should name a school up there early. I'm just saying that. No, I don't want to change Dunbar. but she certainly is one of those people who I'm sure would be in the discussion. Just an amazing human being. So my condolences on behalf of the entire district to Anna Early and her family. Definitely a Wolverine through and through.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's always good when we are able to get through our review sessions, which in hopes means that we won't repeat these same questions at our business meeting, and we are able to move through that one with precision. I do hope that if a board member did ask for some information that went out, that you guys are timely in getting that back to us prior to the day of the meeting, so people have an opportunity to at least digest it. I want to let you guys know that we will be doing a board retreat on Saturday, and this one we are actually doing at Top Golf, which this is a attempt of us to learn a little bit about some of our departments and follow up on some things that we get from our individuals. So I'm excited about that piece of it, as well as work on the rapport that we have amongst ourselves as board members and the staff that we do work on, because you have to be human to deal with people as human. And if you only see each other in a professional setting all the time, you kind of forget that there are people behind every title that is in this organization. So first, thank you to all of those who are coming because your boss told you to come. So I appreciate you guys being there. I appreciate your bosses for bringing you along with us, because we brought our staff along with us, and it is just really good to see the people behind them and see them not necessarily always in their official capacity. I do want you all to know that, yes, a lot always happens in little old Dayton, Ohio, and I'm gonna just tell you guys, it's gonna be okay. We're going to get through this moment and the next moment, and we're going to figure things out, because that's what we do, you know? As Bob Marley always said, don't worry about a thing. Every little thing is gonna be all right. So with that, pursuant to section 1.22G2 of the Ohio Revised Code, I move that this board go into executive session. This meeting is being held to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal of a public employee, and to confer with an attorney involving pending and imminent court action.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Goodwine, second by Mr. Walker. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes?
Mr. Smith. Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick. Ms. Wick? Okay. 7 yeses.